there's always like this beginning 5 seconds of the live stream where I'm like, are we live streaming? I don't know. I can't tell because everything starts to buffer.
Did you tag us?
I did not tag you guys. I'm sure I can figure out how to share it to your walls. I don't know if I can share it to your wall, Marketha, because I'm not friends with you on Facebook, I don't think.
Oh.
Lauren, are you friends with Marketha on Facebook?
I am.
So I'm going to share this to your wall.
Okay.
Welcome to Parents Helping Parents, everybody. I know we're like live and here we are talking about sharing stuff. This is a great example. This is, you should do the same thing that we're doing right now. You should share the video to your timeline and your friend's timeline, because that's what we're doing right now. So yeah, Lauren, let me see if I can share this directly to your profile and then you can share it to Marketha's. Because Lauren, we're friends on Facebook, right? Yeah, we are. That's how I knew you just got back from vacation.
Yes. My scuba diving trip.
There you are. And I'm going to write PHP Live. It's Monday night. We're live.
Woo-hoo.
All right. So Lauren, I just shared it to your stuff. So you should be able to bounce that around.
Okay. So you want me to do it now? I don't know how to do all this stuff. Let's see.
Just go to your page and share it to mine.
Share to your story, send in Messenger, share to
you should be able to share to friend's profile.
more options.
Yeah, it's under more options. So as Lauren is providing a wonderful example of how to share the video, everybody do me a favor. You know, I say this every time we go live, but it rings true every time. You have lots of people that you're friends with on Facebook. Let's just pick a number, say you have 750 Facebook friends. They might not see this video just because you're watching this video. And we all know that it's been a really long year and COVID's been devastating to the rates of mental health issues and substance abuse issues. So I can almost guarantee you that on your friends' feed on that where they see your stuff, somebody needs to hear the message that these two ladies are going to share with us tonight. And the only way to guarantee or to increase the possibility that they're going to see that is for you to share our videos. So it's the number one way that we can get the message out of hope and help and healing. So reach up, hit the share button. Lauren's doing it right now. So welcome to Parents Helping Parents, everybody. Thank you for joining us. You've got 1,000 different things you could be doing on Monday, but you're choosing to be here with us. And I know I appreciate it, and I know these ladies appreciate it. I'm really excited about tonight and the guests that we have and the stories that they're going to be sharing with us. So before we dig into that, let me remind everybody a few things. Parents Helping Parents is an Oklahoma-based 501c3, founded by parents, for the most part run by parents, with the mission of providing education, shared experiences, and resources to parents who have children of any age struggling with a substance use disorder. So that's really what we do. We were founded by a group of parents who had that experience and thought, man, there needs to be an organization dedicated to helping other parents figure out what we figured out. So as an organization, we don't have any professional experience. We're just here to share our stories and share the experiences and things that we've uncovered along the way in our stories, right? So anything Parents Helping Parents does should never be considered a substitute for professional counseling, legal advice, medical advice. All of those things we think are really great, and we think you should get them if you need them. That's just not what we do at Parents Helping Parents. We can help you find those resources in your area. So if you're in need, I encourage you to reach out and talk to us. Two places you can do that: parentshelpingparents.info. Parentshelpingparents.info is the website. That's where you can find information about our organization. You can find phone numbers to reach your local Parents Helping Parents chapter. We do have chapter meetings. Most of those are being conducted via Zoom right now. We've got chapters in Oklahoma City, Norman, Edmond, Tulsa, Wichita. So there are a group of local parents potentially in your area that are talking regularly, that are supporting one another. And I want to encourage you to check out the website, find the chapter closest to you, and reach out to them. Also, if you're seeing this on a feed of a feed of a feed, follow us on Facebook at Parents Helping Parents Inc. You can stay in touch with us there. You can direct message us with any questions or needs you might have. We would love to help you any way that we can. So with all that being said, Lauren is unable to figure out how to share the video because I'm seeing her text come across my screens, which is great. I love it. We're an honest group here at Parents Helping Parents, and sometimes we just can't figure out technology. Sometimes I can't figure out technology and the video stream falls apart and we have to cancel meetings. But hey, these ladies have taken some time away from their families and their evenings to be here and share their stories, and I want to make sure they have plenty of time to do that. So I will let you ladies kind of fight out who would like to introduce themselves and talk about a little bit of their story first.
You want me to go first, Marketha?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm Lauren Juvers, and I'm really grateful to be here. I'm a friend of Derek's and Marketha's, and Derek and I connected a while back, and I know that he's been involved in Parents Helping Parents for quite some time now, and it's an honor to be asked to share part of my story, as well as some of the background with my family dynamic. I battled. Let me set my timer here. Let's see. I battled addiction, alcoholism for about 10 years of my life. Started around age 19, and grew up in a very healthy home. Both my parents, they're non-alcoholic at all. They are really great people, and I'm an only child. And so they kind of threw their hands up in the air when they found out that their daughter was an alcoholic. I started with drinking in high school, and then it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And, I didn't understand why I was, at first when I was younger, I thought, well, I'm in college, everybody drinks, everybody parties. But, there was a point in time where it just, I had crossed this line to where I, even when I wanted to stop drinking or drugging, I couldn't. And, I was disappointing everybody in my life, including my family. I could not sustain relationships with anybody. I could not hold a job. I would withdraw from school all the time. I just became a shell of a person. I would look at myself in the mirror and not know who I had become, but the scariest part about it was that I just didn't know how to stop. And I know that some people that don't understand alcoholism and addiction, on the outside look in at this person and are like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this with your life? Straighten up. Like you have the whole world given to you. You have this good life. You have so much potential. Why are you just burning it to the ground? And that is the baffling thing about alcoholism, right? I was treating a mental, a spiritual malady. I didn't have the help or the resources to have an awakening, to have a different mindset around my disease of alcoholism. And so my parents were so loving, and they helped me. They helped get me into treatment center after treatment center. But it was really it was because they wanted me sober. I wanted people off of my back. And so, when I would get transition out of treatment, nothing was different, because I could not get sober for anybody else but for myself. Like nothing set in for me when, when I was doing it for somebody else. Like I had to fully surrender to wanting to get sober for anything to change, and because my parents loved me so much or loved me so much, and I knew how to manipulate them, and I knew that they would continue to rescue me. I stayed sick, it wasn't just because of them, but it was part of the problem. My family enabled me. They just didn't want to see me hurt. They didn't want to see me die. They just wanted their little girl back, and it wasn't until 2011, I had just gotten out of my 7th residential treatment center. That's not even counting the 5 IOPs and all the counselors and whatnot over the years, but 7th residential treatment center. And I got out and relapsed 2 days later. And my mom, found me in my bedroom, and I was face down on the ground, and she obviously knew that I had used something. And I mean, she was just so angry at this point. Like before, it was fear and sadness, but it had just turned into complete anger. Like how can you keep doing this to us, and she started getting help herself, and she was seeing a counselor that was directing her to start setting some healthy boundaries with me, and my mom, oh, hey Bubba, shh. Sorry about that. There's a storm here in Texas or in Dallas. George. So my mom was finally, sorry, George, come here, Bubba. Come on. Come here. Good boy. So
he's just your hype dog.
I know. This is the great part of being sober, is I can take care of my animals now. So, but anyway, so my mother, she set a boundary with me and was like, you're going to go to treatment, and you're going to go to treatment for a long time, and if you don't, then you're packing your bags. And if you choose to be homeless, you're going to have to be homeless. And then my dad was, of course, on board, because I think my mom was getting ready to kick my dad out too if he wasn't on board with it. So I agreed to go to a long-term treatment center called Burning Tree Ranch in Kaufman, Texas. And I was there for 9 months in residential treatment. And then I did a year of aftercare. So everything that I learned in residential treatment, all that foundation that I built, I was able to implement that in the outside world, and I did the 12 steps. I learned how to be of service. I had a spiritual awakening. I had a personality shift. I developed a relationship with God, and my life was completely transformed. Not only that, but my parents too. They got their daughter back. They learned how to, Burning Tree helped facilitate a family program, and they said, your recovery has to be separate too. So, almost 10 years later, I sit before you here today saying that my life is an absolute miracle. It's a miracle. Sobriety is 100%. People look at me all the time. I can't imagine you using drugs and alcohol the way you describe. And alcoholism and addiction does not discriminate one bit. Not one bit, and my parents also carried a lot of shame around it for a while, but they're really proud of me today. I help a lot of people, at least I tend to. I have the privilege of working for Burning Tree now. So it's just, it's a lifelong thing though, right? You just don't go somewhere and you get help and then you're fixed. And I think that's the skewed perception that my family had for a long time, is that, send her to treatment for 30 days and then she'll come back and everything's going to be fine. But it takes a lot of work from both the individual and, the family to create those healthy boundaries and break that unhealthy family dynamic. Recovery takes a lot of work. But it's unreal. It's unbelievable. The life that I get to lead today. You know, Derek was talking about, I just got back from a scuba diving trip, something that I've been wanting to do for a really, really long time. And I get to pursue these adventures and that I've always wanted to do in my life because I'm sober. And that's a gift. So I think I've spent my 10, 12 minutes. I know it's really hard to tell my story.
No, you're good. You're good. And we're going to have plenty of time to dive into some more specifics. Lauren, real quick, how long have you been sober?
I'll be celebrating 10 years, September 6th.
Early, congratulations. 10 years, big deal. Congratulations. Really glad that you're with us tonight.
Yes.
So,
thank you. Thank you.
Miss Marketha?
Hello, I'm Marketha Washington. I am Lauren's friend and now Derek's friend. I come to you from the different perspective. I come to you from the loved one, the codependent, and the parent. And so I have 2 children that struggle, one that was questionable, but 2 that really struggled. And if you looked up codependency in the dictionary or Googled it, you would see a picture of me, because that was me. And I always say that I think I probably bought more drugs and alcohol than my children did when they were active in their addiction. And I told myself a ton of lies. You know, I had this rule, no money on the weekends, but it never occurred to me that they were just saving the money through the week for the weekends. And I thought that I was saving them by not giving money on the weekends. So my daughter is my oldest. She struggled with alcohol. And I don't know, just fast forward just a little bit, you know, prior to that, my brother and I had put my father, taken him to detox. And I didn't know anything about what alcoholism looked like. I didn't know what this whole thing was about. And I feel like now that I work in the industry and that I've been through what I've been through, that we did everything wrong. And that really, really haunted me. We threw as much guilt and shame as we could, you know, just did not understand. Like Lauren said earlier, why can't you just stop? If you love us, just stop. So a lot of, you know, emotional blackmail. And so a couple of years after that, then, you know, my children started to struggle. I lost my father. And then my children started to struggle. And I really didn't understand it. I first went through everything. What did I do wrong? And how can I fix it? Because I'm a fixer in the family dynamics. And so how can I fix this for them? And I couldn't. And, you know, it ultimately, when I knew we had to do something, my daughter was in a car wreck in East Texas. I sent her there for college. She went to college, she came back and went down there one weekend, and she was in a car accident. She told me she was going to one city, but in actuality, she went to another city. She went to East Texas, told me she was in Houston. I got a call the next morning from the chaplain that she was in a car accident and she was on life support. She had broken her back, her neck, her sternum bone, her tailbone. I mean, she was in bad shape. She was ejected from the car, and they were in she was in Tyler. And at the time, I didn't even know how to get there. Like my mind just wouldn't even allow me to get there. So we got there, and when I walked in, and the nurse said, "Yeah, there was alcohol involved." Like I immediately went into my defense. You know, no, she didn't say that about my baby. You know, like how dare you? I'm in here, I'm struggling, and you're talking about alcohol, right? And so, of course, I glazed over that, and it was all about saving her life, right? And she made it. And I remember asking the chaplain to go back in and touch her and say, I said, will you do me a favor? Go and touch my baby and say that she will live and she will not die. And she will use this as a testimony to help others. Can you do that for me? And he said, yeah, yes, ma'am, I'll do it. And he did it. And I got there and I never thought for one moment that she was going to leave me. Like, not when I got there, I never thought that she was going to leave me. But I didn't realize that the road would still be longer, after that, because that was my bottom for her, but it wasn't her bottom. And I had to learn those things that, my bottom and their bottom look so different. And so she did go to treatment. She went to some very, very good treatment, and for a while, she did great. But there was some other things that were not being addressed, and so therefore, with the dual, and she was dual diagnosed, and with that, it wasn't being addressed, and so we had a sober person, but we didn't have a healthy person. And so then we went back and we went through a amazing dual diagnosis program. And so we had a handle on those things. And I saw her spirituality. Her spirit fed me through some of my darkest days. Because when she went to treatment the same year, my son went to jail. She went to treatment in South Padre at Origins. And my youngest son was like, I'm going the total opposite way. I'm joining the Marines. And so it was, and everything I ever knew was taking care of them. Everything that made me who I am was taking care of them. That was my whole identity. And, raised them in the church, loved them, tried to create, which was one of the biggest mistakes, was almost this perfect life. This perfect life where they didn't see, they had good examples. I did this, I did that, or I didn't do this, I didn't do that, or I was very vocal about things that I didn't like, and, and things like that, pretty judgmental. And so in actuality, I was pulling myself further and further from their reality and being more of a person that was judging the life that they were living. And it just created, distance between us. But she went and got good treatment, and she did amazing. She went to sober living a couple of years in Arizona. She would send me all of these things, and I could just tell, like, her light was shining so bright. Her spirit was so bright because she was working the steps and learning so much. And it was a great thing. And but it was there when I learned, sitting in one of Origin's family days, that I was probably the biggest part of the problem. And it was my enabling. And but I didn't know how to change it. I didn't know how to stop. And so I did start to get counseling, and I have friends that worked in the industry, and would talk to people. My son was blessed to be released from jail, and he was sit in jail for 7 months, and then was released and went to Burning Tree. And that's where I learned, even though you heard about the boundaries and you heard about the codependency and the enabling, at Burning Tree is when they said, nope, take your hand off and go get better. And that's what, eventually started taking my pain and my past that I didn't quite understand, and turn it into my passion. And so, I thought, how can I help people? How can I do this? My kids are now, they're doing good. My son works in the industry, but it took a lot of boundary setting. It took a lot of prayer, a lot of prayer. But even though I did the boundaries, and even though I did the prayer, the one thing I forgot, or I did not do all the way, I didn't surrender. And I think that that is one of the most important parts of for the addict and for the loved one. I didn't surrender my children because I thought that I could take care of them better than God could. I guess that was my thought, right? So even though I would put them there and say, God, you take care of them, you guide them, I can't do it. I would still somehow manage to put my finger back on it. I would still somehow manage to tell him that he's taking too long, or he didn't do that the way I would have did that. Hence the reason we were kind of in this situation. Um, but when I surrendered and added the boundaries, my children started to thrive. And I stopped beating myself up over their decisions. Um, they know how I feel. They know my stance. They know, what I want for them. But ultimately, I have to trust God's will for them. And that's what, I did some Al-Anon. I did some step work at my church. I worked the steps. Um, you know, I did all of those things, but I think that my freedom came truly when I said, this battle is not mine. I mean, it's the Lord. So um, they're doing great now, and I'm very, proud of them. I mean, we still, it's one day at a time, right? And there's going to be some struggles, but I now know how to deal with the struggles. It doesn't mean I love them any less. It doesn't mean that. It does mean that I'm less involved than before, because before I was the one that was involved. I would go to court whenever with my son, when they would tell me clearly, you won't be able to see him. And I'm like, no, I'm just here to pray over the room. I exhausted myself. I would fly out to wherever my daughter was. I would do those things, because I still felt like I had my hand in them. But freedom is truly comes in with surrender. And so now I know that regardless of how the story ends, that their recovery is their recovery, my recovery is my recovery. Um, and we will all be better by just surrendering. I think that's my biggest takeaway from all of this. And when I talk to parents on a daily, I don't pick up the phone for a call and not see or feel my children or our situation. I'm constantly trying to help people, because that's what I needed, because that was such a lonely, dark road, to go down. So I truly believe in treatment. I truly believe in the program. And you know, that's kind of
Yeah.
my deal.
Thank you, Marketha, for sharing all that with us. I'm so happy to hear that your children are doing well. Not every parent has that experience, right? Some parents have the experience of their kids still being out, trying to figure things out. So, you both mentioned, I think, a really important word. And so I'm going to have you each kind of follow up on that a little bit. And Lauren, I'll let you go first. Give Marketha a break, then we'll let her step back in. But you both mentioned this idea of enabling. Lauren, you said that your parents were definitely engaging in enabling behavior, and Marketha, you actually fully admitted, like, chief enabler over here in the dictionary. So maybe more specifically define enabling, and then talk about, like, hey, this is what my parents were doing that were really enabling. And then Marketha, from your perspective, like, this is what I was doing that was definitely enabling and not helping my children get better, or Lauren, helping you get better.
So, gosh, there was so much intertwined, and I would say the biggest piece was, they were still giving me money, and knew that I was up to no good. They weren't asking I was manipulating them and telling them the money was for one thing. And they weren't really pressing me to ask, nor were they pushing me to have a job. They were letting me freeload in their house while I was out getting high and drinking and, disappearing for days at a time and coming home and just kind of hanging out. And when I got tired, and allowing me to do so just so they knew where I was at, still paying for my cell phone. They would send me off to treatment, and I would get out of treatment, and it was like, okay, let's get you an apartment and let's help you get enrolled back in school, and let me just do all the legwork for you, because we're so scared that if you feel any amount of stress, get down, if you feel any amount of stress that you're going to relapse. Oh geez. Oh, here, no guys, that you're going to relapse. So they just were really trying to control and manage my addiction, and so, but it got really, once they, oh, we're not paying for your cell phone bill anymore. No, we're not handing over any money anymore. If you choose to go out all hours of the night or don't get a job, then you don't have a place to stay. And that, when they said that, it was like, oh boy, I don't have many, because I wouldn't do well on the streets. I'll just tell you that much. So, but yeah, that was really tough for them to do.
Yeah, I think for me, it was really just overlooking and blaming everything else. And that was kind of one way that I kept enabling the behavior. And I've since learned that, if you're doing something for somebody, so if you're doing something for someone that they can do for themselves, that's enabling. If you're doing something for someone that they cannot do for themselves, that's helping. Now, that is a daily thing I have to say every single day. When my phone rings and it's one of the kids, or if I want to call and offer something, because that was my thing. I didn't want them to stress. I didn't want them to do anything that was against the law to get money. I thought that, for me, I can remember my son wanted to buy me a purse, and I was like, no, because I didn't know how he got the money, right? So, so it was things like that where I thought that if I just stood for right, then, but more specifically, I gave them money, I bailed them out. I cannot tell you how many countless of times I paid bond money, or attorney money, or how many times that even when I didn't have the money, I was borrowing and begging for money. Like, I'm the type of person that won't ask for anything for myself. Like, I'm not that person. I'll figure it out. I'll do it myself. I'll do it on my own. I'll do without. But for those kids, I'm like on the phone and borrowing. And so, like, I was putting myself in debt or going against my biggest principle or rule in order to be able to get them out of jail. I mean, I was on vacation one time, and my son needed bond money, and it was $25 to get my bags back. I drained my bank account for him to get out of jail. And when I got to the airport, I didn't even have the $25 to pay for my bag. Like, I would go for broke. I would go home and tell the other kids, if one of the kids were going through something, okay, guys, we're not having big meals. We're eating, tuna and crackers, ramen noodles, because I've got to pay for this. So I pay for cars, and I did things that I knew was only going to hurt them, because they were not responsible, because they were in the midst of in the grips of addiction. When people tried to tell me about them, they would see me outwardly disassociate from them. And so their whole manipulating thing was divide and conquer, and they had me. And I mean, even in my marriage, it was not my husband and then my children. It wasn't God, my husband, and my children. It was God and my children in a very close race, and they knew that, and they knew how to do that. And so I think those were the things that, nobody could tell me about. For some of the things I did.
Yeah, thank you guys. So these are going to be kind of different questions, but I want to start with Lauren. You mentioned the number of residential treatment programs you had been in. What was that number?
7.
7. What would you say to families who had a young person who had cycled through 4 or 5 and was still struggling?
Well, I would say, how much is there any change in the family dynamic, right? What does the continuum of care look like when they transition from treatment, right? Are they just coming back to their same surroundings, their same environment? Has anything else changed besides the drugs and the alcohol being taken away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's almost like everything needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I think it's imperative to, for the individual to get treatment, but also the family to get their own treatment, to learn how to set healthy boundaries, and to be involved so think about it, like, I'm involved in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, right? I am part of that fellowship. I get that support from people that are like-minded, just like me. We go through the same struggles. We pick each other up when we see each other down, and it's that extra accountability. So it's, my parents, had they maybe had a support group where instead of trying to work it out amongst themselves, because it would always turn into a fight between the two of them, father, chief enabler, mom is kind of like at the end of a rope, like cut her off, they're fighting. If they would have had a group where they could have been involved in something like, Parents Helping Parents or Al-Anon or whatever, it might have been different. They might have been able to see things more clearly, hearing it from another person's perspective who had gone through a similar situation and gotten to the other side, right? And that's just like how we do in my fellowship. It's like I share my experience with somebody new, and I can really grab their attention, because it's like, their parents or a counselor or somebody can be telling them all day long, like, do this, that, and this for your recovery, but it doesn't have as much depth and weight as it does coming from a person who has experienced it themselves, who has been helpless and just beaten down by drugs and alcohol, and has actually had an awakening, a shift in personality and a relationship with God. It's like that opens somebody's eyes to, wow, like I want what that person has, right? So I think it's everything needs to change. Like it can't be, everybody needs to look at themselves. How can I show up differently in this family dynamic, right? It's not just Betty's and Johnny's problem. Everybody plays a part. We don't want to blame anybody, but everybody plays a part. So if we can all work together to get our own help, that's when the change happens.
Marketha, how important was you getting your own help in terms of like how that helped create change for other family members, or how that just kind of helped save you?
So I think that was the most important thing, because I realized, and that is what they taught me too, is nothing changed until the family gets better. They don't get better until you get better. And so I think the fact that I started to get better, and, started kind of implementing, the change around the house. I knew never would they come back home, and and that was the thing. I thought, well, we're not, we don't party, and stuff like that. And so I didn't think it was a lot to change, but it was a lot that needed to change. And so I think me getting the help helped me to understand this process. Now, of course, I wish I would have known a little bit more at the time, because one of the things that I think is super important was the fact of when they leave, they don't come back, right? They just keep progressing through the process. Well, I think that's where I was slower to things. Although, my son left and he just kept going, to different parts of the program, and never came back home. My daughter, she could scream and say, Mom, I'm not comfortable, or this happened, or whatever. And she knows I don't want her to be uncomfortable. She knows that's all she has to say. And so a part of me, I guess, that was slow to heal was learning that, well, I understand, but you got to figure it out. I never quite got there. I got better at it, right? Because and I remember the doctor clearly saying, no, 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 she don't come home. But then I was like, but it's a different reason, the reason she need, like I made excuses, and I brought her back home, and it wasn't successful. And I feel like it wasn't, that was a part of me that it took a while. And now I know differently. And I know that I can no longer do that. But if I would have got better in that aspect first, I think things would have been better earlier on. But to answer your question, the fact that I got better really, really changed the trajectory of my family, but more so the person, the punching bag or the enabler that my children saw me as. They were like, what happened to my mama? And can you make her come back, please? And I was like, no, you coming back home to a different mama. So yeah, it does make a difference.
Is that what you each meant when you used the phrase family recovery? Is that each individual of the family is finding recovery for themselves and change for themselves?
Yeah, I think for me, I even did a autopsy, if you will, of my codependency, because I had to understand, where did this behavior start? What happened in my life that made me want to never tell my children no? What happened so significant in my life that I felt that I had to be their friend, and I didn't know how to love them enough to piss them off? What happened in my life that made me give them a voice when they really shouldn't have had a voice? So I think for me, family recovery was very important, because I had to figure me out first. Yeah.
Yeah. Lauren, did you want to add to that?
Gosh, I would just, I think piggybacking off of what Marketha said, it's like, taking a look inside, and I can't speak for my parents, but there was pointed out, I know for my father especially, because it, there's something, it does something for him, or it did something for him to be that to rescue me, to continue to rescue me, and to make sure that I was taken care of, so to speak. That there was a reason behind that behavior, and I think that was difficult for him to look at, because he was so focused on me. Like, Lauren's the problem. We need to fix Lauren. If we fix Lauren, everybody's going to be happy. But I mean, especially when I was in long-term treatment, they could see the change happening in me, and I remember when we did the family program, it was like they couldn't believe it. It was just the way I had reacted to life was different, the level of respect I was giving them but I think there was a lot of healing between them too, you know, in my parents' relationship, like trusting and supporting one another through it, because it's not easy. Or think about it, like, let's see, 10 years they spent going at it, you know, or trying to work together in the beginning to keep their daughter safe, keep their daughter alive. And you know, it just, they were exhausted by the end of it, and it really affected their relationship. So there was a ton of healing that had to happen between my parents, you know. I mean, I can say now today, like our family dynamic is super, super healthy. You know, we have healthy boundaries, but that takes a lot of work, because you think about 10 years of the unhealthy dynamic, you know, I mean, there's going to be times when you kind of slip back into those old behaviors, right? But I'll tell you, if one person is firmly grounded in their foundation and has a really good support system, right, they're not going to break back into those old family patterns and that unhealthy family dynamic, you know. So it's not like the whole family can relapse on the enabling, so to speak. But yeah, that's I hope that answered the question.
I've done this 1,000 times. I still try to talk on mute. It's like, am I ever going to learn? Yeah, thank you so much. So my kind of beginning to wrap us up question, as we're kind of coming to the end of our hour, that I always like to ask people is, there's a very good possibility that a parent that's watching the live stream, or that's watching this video after the fact, like right now, has a son or daughter that might be out in the trenches battling with substance use or addiction. What would you say to that family? If you had like 3 minutes, like what would your kind of encouraging words, what would your message be to them, the family that's struggling?
I guess for me, I don't know. I mean, I definitely would say don't give up on them. But I would definitely say make sure they have some skin in the game. I think that is important, because so many times I've heard, I only went because you wanted me to go. So I think to really have a good conversation with them and find out this is what that they're ready for the help, or if they're not, like, how do you raise their bottom? How do you make them a part of the decision that we know they need to make? And so I would say reach out and try to get them the help that they need. I don't think I would ever give up on mine, but I think the way that I would approach it would be completely different. It may be, if it's so many times, it may be state funding, or whatever. It may be a different approach. Like, you've had the POSH, but I don't think that I would ever stop presenting or giving them opportunities to have help. If it's just writing a list and saying, here's some help for you, make that call. And that's kind of where I'm at with one of mine now. It's like, make the call. But I would say love them enough to piss them off.
Yeah, thank you, Marketha.
Love that. Yeah, I would elaborate on that as well, as far as, and I think I shared earlier, is Marketha said, raise the bottom, right? Is that who you referred to? Raise the bottom, right? Because once I knew that the money was going to be cut off, I was no longer going to be able to freeload at their house. It got really scary. I knew they were serious. Like, yeah, you've got to do something with your life. We're no longer going to support you. And I knew I had to make some decisions. And so I still felt very loved by my family, but I knew that they were tired, and they, really made me feel like finally like you're an adult, like you have to take care of yourself, like, and we're not going to treat you like a child anymore. And they were on the same page. I think that was imperative too, is they both got together. Well, I don't exactly know how it went down, but for once, my mother and father were on the exact same page, you know, and I could no longer split them and get dad alone and convince him to do one thing, or get mom alone and convince her to do another thing. It's like they rallied together and they got on the same page, you know, and whether or not they did that with a professional, I'm not sure. But I felt that when we finally sat down and they said, okay, here are your options, right? You were going to go, you've been through this amount of treatment centers. We found this other treatment center in Texas that specializes in treating a chronic relapser. You're going to be there anywhere from 8 to 14 months. It's going to be a long time. You can only imagine what my thoughts were then, but it's going to be a long time. So you have that option, or we will take you down to the state funded place. It was Turtle Creek Manor. It's an all men's facility now, but we'll take you down to a state funded place and drop you off there. So you have two choices, you know, or you can be homeless. And so, and I took them seriously. I knew they were serious, you know. And so, yeah, I would say to the families, get on the same page. What is the plan? Stick to the plan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to trust that coming from somebody, like, I mean, you'll hear it all throughout people's stories who have battled alcoholism and addiction and have finally found recovery, is that, you know, their loved one at some point, somebody in their life stopped enabling them and they got really, really uncomfortable. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the surrender is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what step one is all about, is surrendering. I'm completely powerless and I'll never be able to do this on my own, you know? And yeah, so.
Yeah, excellent. Hey, just real quick, Lauren, tell people like what Burning Tree is. Tell people how to find more information out about Burning Tree, how to get in touch with Burning Tree if they're interested in help from you guys.
Yeah, so Burning Tree has been around since 1999, and we specialize, like I said before, in treating a chronic relapser, so somebody that's been through multiple facilities. We are a very long-term program, 8 to 14-month residential with a year of aftercare transition. And this is all, the facility is in Kaufman, Texas, just outside of Dallas. And you know, for somebody like myself that had a really unhealthy family dynamic, you know, mom and dad had the means to be able to send me to treatment quite frequently, and they just needed somebody to kind of tell them the truth, sit them down and say, hey, this isn't working for you and anymore. And you know, the long-term treatment at Burning Tree Ranch, you have the gift of time, right? So we treat substance use disorder and mental health disorders. So you can get accurate diagnoses over an 8-month period. You can do the real trauma work while you're there and learn how to build relationships, be in healthy relationships with people in the community as well as family members. And so it's like I said, specifically geared towards somebody, an individual who is a chronic relapse. Burning Tree has other options now. We do have a facility in in Elgin, Texas, called Renewal Lodge, and that is specifically for somebody where it's their first or second time to treatment or several failed attempts to the 12 steps. And then we have all women's facility in Fredericksburg, Texas, called Fulbrook Center. And finally, we have Burning Tree West, which is out in Tucson, Arizona. It's a young adult collegiate program. It's extended care and IOP and sober living. So pretty much a facility for anybody, for somebody, you know, wherever they are along in their recovery or their addiction. So.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Lauren. And Marketha, tell us a little bit about Arise Recovery and how to get more information about you guys and how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, so thank you. I am with the Rise Recovery Centers, and we are a intensive outpatient program. We have 5 facilities in the Dallas Metroplex. So it's pretty much anywhere in Dallas that you can go. We offer um, you know, a full IOP with master level therapists. We also have Houston locations. We have 3 locations in Houston, and just really, really motivated to help people in recovery. So if anybody has any questions or need anything, they can contact me, Marketha, at ariserecoverycenters.com.
Excellent. And Marketha, if you will message me in Zoom, the Arise website and your contact information, I'll actually put it in the comments of the live stream as we're wrapping up, so that it's right there with the video in case anybody needs it. So if you'll send that to me real quick.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. Hey, thank you everybody for joining us. You know, I say it every time. Sometimes Mondays are long and we're going back to work, and on Monday morning I get up and I think, oh man, it's going to be a long Monday. I got parents helping parents tonight. But I'm always really charged up after hearing such hopeful stories of change and listening to people talk about coming through the fire and making it out to the other side. So hopefully you get as much out of it as I do. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. Just really can't be more grateful for who you are as people, what you do for the recovery community, and just really grateful that you guys joined us tonight. So
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking us.
Yeah, it is my pleasure. So did you send me that stuff, Marketha? I want to make sure I get it in before we're out.
Wait, no, did I not send it to you?
You sent it to me directly, Marketha.
Wait, so, okay, can you forward it?
Let me see. Okay, here, I'm going to do this. Arise Recovery Centers.com. Probably making a really funny face right now.
I'm going to screenshot it.
Don't you dare! 4842-2307.
Yeah, and if you could send me more information on your program, it'd be great.
We'll make a meme out of it.
You better not. I've been making funny faces this whole evening. Well, good. Yay! Wonderful to see your beautiful face.
All right,
And
we got it.
For having us.
Hey, thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful week. Thanks everybody for joining us. We will see you in a couple weeks next time we do it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.